What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Anthoine career mode inside of F1 2021. We had a good result out in the feature race. We're now here for the sprint race. Obviously, naturally, following F2's hierarchy, we start in P8. Now, it's going to be tricky trying to come back through the field. Hopefully we can make some positions. Obviously we want to try and finish ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, who, as it stands from last race, might be our championship rival, but we'll have to see how it plays out. It's not as long as the feature race, but we're going to have to see what happens. A lot of chaos usually ensues during a sprint race, especially in the deserts of Bahrain. Now, obviously the calendar is slightly different to what it was in real life last year, so we won't be seeing, the double header at Austria followed up by the ending in Bahrain, unfortunately. So we will obviously be running your Monaco, your Bakus, and all of those races that weren't actually featured in the season, but nonetheless, obviously using Anthoine, it's kind of a what if everything had happened how it was. Now we are coming to the grid for the start of the race. I'm excited, and just to kind of see how we can progress through this. So we've got PK ahead of us, Tsunoda just to our left, and behind us we have Kalamailo and Sato. So we are ready for the 5 lights to go out here for the sprint race in Bahrain. We've got Guan Yu on pole, followed by Schwartzman, and the lights are out, and Schwartzman gets off to a bad start. PK gets off to a bad start, so we're going to make up potentially 2 positions. We're going to duck to the inside on Bobby Schwartzman, and we've got a few cars ahead of us. We're going to miss our braking point, and we're going to hit Mick Schumacher, and we're going to damage our front wing quite heavily. In fact, product of simulation damage, unfortunately. We do manage to make up a few positions into P4, but so does Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda's made it into P5, I guess as a consequence of Schwartzman and PK's absolutely awful start. We nudge Schumacher in the rear there, which it's not ideal. We're probably going to lose even more downforce, but we're going to have a look at the start. You can see PK just doesn't really go anywhere. He gets almost an identical start to Bobby Schwartzman. So obviously we go in between here. We're 3 wide at this point, and they're 2 wide at the back. And then Schwartzman, I'd argue, is probably worse than PK. He literally didn't get going in any capacity. And we'll have a look at what happened to us. So obviously we brake, and then obviously Lundgaard moves to the right, kind of puts me off a little bit. So then obviously I'm just ended up going into Schumacher. I did try to avoid. It's very much what happened to Stroll, but coming to the end of lap 1, Yuki Tsunoda is right on our back end, and he's going to pull to the left hand side, and there's not much point us fighting this because we are compromised, and we're only on the 2nd lap, so we don't actually know how manageable this damage is going to be. I believe we got a little tap from the rear from Christian Lundgaard, so that's not very nice to say the least. So we're going to try and see if we can keep up with Tsunoda and just kind of analyse how the damage is looking. But we move on 2 more laps later. You can see Tsunoda's actually being held here by Schumacher and Nobuharu Matsushita, so we're kind of in a weird bit of limbo here. We're a little bit faster in some corners compared to Lundgaard, and obviously we're quite a lot slower as well. So if we can kind of keep in this bubble, that'll be decent, but obviously I reckon we might struggle towards the end of the Grand Prix. Obviously having less downforce, it's really going to compromise us. But lap 6, almost halfway, still in the exact same position. We are closing up slightly to Tsunoda. I think Mick might have some damage, obviously, from us. So we're going to try and push to see if we can maybe catch up to these guys. We're going to push too hard, miss our braking point, and we're going to absolutely bury our front end into the rear of Tsunoda. Unfortunately, it's almost a carbon copy of what Eilert did to Daruvala at the end of last season. But so we had bad front wing damage, and now we've got even worse front wing damage. So Lundgaard is within 2.5 tenths, so he's going to be right on our gearbox now, especially with DRS. You can see we're struggling to get through these corners now. If the damage was manageable before, it's certainly not very manageable now. So it's going to be really hard. I mean, within 2 tenths is Lundgaard. We're going to see what happened here. So Tsunoda's just minding his own business, and all of a sudden we come in like an absolute rocket. And just luckily we didn't actually destroy his race. He's kind of still going, but we're going to see what it look like from his onboard. You can see in the mirror we're just closing, bam, and he managed to hold it pretty well. So unfortunately for us, obviously it's compromised us quite a bit, but it's obviously not ideal. But Tsunoda does have the fastest lap, so as it stands, he will be ahead of us in the championship, as you'd probably expect. But we're going to try and do what we can to stay in the points. That's probably going to be the only goal we have now instead of closing up. We're going to be to the outside. We've got Lundgaard just behind us. He's making a move down our inside. And we're going to stick to the outside, see if we can hold around the outside. We've got, I believe that's Ilot and Sato fighting behind us. Sorry, it's just it's just Sato, not Ilot. He's going to go around our outside here. We managed to hold him off, but Lundgaard's clean through. There's nothing we can really do about that. Bobby Schwartzy has now passed Sato, so Schwartzman's going to be up our gearbox, trying to pass us, and he's just glued to the back of us as we're just struggling through these corners. And he's going to go for a move around the outside. We didn't see him coming, and he actually ended up losing a good chunk of his front wing there. Quite fortunate for us, we didn't get a puncture. Philippe Drogovich has retired from the Grand Prix. The guy who retired from the last race has also retired here, so he's not having a great Grand Prix this weekend. But we'll have a look and see what happened here. So Schwartzman right up the back of us, and we just so focused on what we were doing, we didn't even see him. It was quite ambitious to plop his car on the entirety of the curb to try to go around outside. So unfortunately he's going to have to pit for a new front wing, so that takes him out of contention for points. There goes Sato. We're going to hold it down the inside as best we can, force him to the outside, give him a bit of a squeeze, and this may actually allow PK to get involved. It does indeed. So PK now passes his teammate, and we're really starting to struggle on these tyres. We've got PK behind us. You can see he's going to dive down our inside. We almost make contact, luckily for some avoidance driving of the of PK, otherwise that could have been pretty gnarly. We've got Ilot now actually in the picture, so that wasn't really kind of wasted. He's looking to maybe go down our inside here, kind of thinks about it secondary. We've got Sato and Ilot not too far behind, so they may look to pounce. We're going to dive to the right hand side up against the pit wall to try and reduce the slipstream. If we're not careful, lads, we're going to be going for wide here. So you can see we've got a car to our right, car to our left, Ilot just behind us. We're kind of boxed in at this point. We're going to hold it down the middle if we can. We've got a lock up from Sato, so we're going to hold it around the outside of Sato as well, so we get the higher ground here. And PK's actually dropped back a bit, but Sato's looking for a move. We're going to go to the inside, defend exactly how we did against Sonoda, and try and be nice and smooth on the brakes, which is the opposite of what we do. We go incredibly deep. Sato actually moved to the left, the cheeky guy, but we're going to go side by side through this. This is going to be impossible with this damage, surely. Sato positions his car well, and he holds the position. PK maybe looks for a move around our outside, but he backs out of it. Ilot is looking to try and go around the outside now of PK, but Sato does get the position, and we can't really fight that. But coming into the final few laps, it's just a case of survival at this point. Like, we're just doing what we can. The penultimate lap is going to be really hard to stay at the points. We've got one more position until we're at the back end of the points, but Ilot's looking for a move, and it looks like PK is going to make us go 3 wide here. We're behind. We switch to the outside to try and go the long way round of Callum Ilot, and try and get better traction out of here, just to squeeze up alongside. He gives us the room, which means we're going to have DRS going up the hill, and it's going to be really nip and tuck between ourselves and Callum Ilot if we want to score a single point here. We're going to go to the outside, and we're going to go so deep, so deep, just like we did against Sato, but we're a little bit closer to Callum Ilot as we go through this S section. We're going to hold it around the outside if we can. He clips the curb, he clips us, and we lose all of our front wing, and now we are well and truly in the mud. We're completely mudded. We've got no front wing. We didn't have much to begin with, to be honest, but we've officially got a plank of wood departing from our car. So let's have a look from this helicopter shot. You can see we get a much better exit, obviously taking the really wide line. So we're quite alongside, and then he just clips the curb a little bit and ends up coming into our path, which is it's a racing incident really. I can't blame Callum Ilot. We might see a little bit better from PK. So obviously we go really deep. Luckily Callum does give us enough space to try and come back through here, but obviously at the same time you can see he kind of just, as he hits the curb, it's almost like he understeers into our trajectory. So we'll see here, see if there's any jink to the left once he places his tyre on the curb. But it's one of those things. I mean, we was fighting a losing battle, lads, and you know, the fact that we've got no front wing on what will be 1 lap to go, yeah, it almost looks like he understeers a little bit, but again, that's nothing intentional. We can see a little bit further on this lap, Marcus Armstrong's right up behind us now, so that's going to put Marcus up into the points, I believe. So unfortunately we're out of the points. I mean, with no front wing, you can't really expect much less. PK goes past. We've got Giotto and our teammate Markelov behind us, and I think we're going to have to retire the car. There's no point coming in for a pit stop and then going back out for 1 lap. There's literally no point. Giotto goes through in P10, Markelov behind us, followed by Nassani. And yeah, we're just going to have to retire the car. It's really unfortunate because we was in the top 4 or top 5, I believe, at one stage, but it just hasn't worked out for us, unfortunately. And these things happen. It all kind of unravelled from lap 1 really. It's one of those things. Guan Yu Zhou does win the sprint race, just ahead of Matthew Sheeter as well as Mick Schumacher. So luckily Yuki Tsunoda doesn't get on the podium, but he will still finish ahead of us in the championship at the end of this race, just due to the fastest lap. So, you know, there's nothing we can really do. Fair play to Tsunoda, fair play to the 3 podium winners here. We kind of had a bit of a stinker in the grand scheme of things, but overall it was a good learning experience. We kind of learned what is possible around this track and similar tracks with damage to our front wing, and I'm sure with simulation damage it's not going to be the last time that we have this damage. But overall, you know, we're only second in the championship by my calculations, so it's all to play for. And yeah, it's sucky, but nonetheless, guys, we'll have a quick look at the standings as I sign off here. I hope you have enjoyed first weekend of the F2 2021 with Hubert series. I'll be back for the next race, and until then, guys, take care. Bye bye.